Okay, let's start a real show now.
Okay.
You put in the high level referral link. Is it for me?
It is. Just so I didn't forget. And I didn't go poking around a whole lot. I know the link pulls up a page, but I think it's just a general page.
It is.
I don't think there's anything special about it. So, but again, I didn't poke around. I do know with any account, if you subscribe, I think at a certain tier, might even be, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at all the details. But either way, I have a couple of sub accounts that are available on my account that I know I can resell also, but I don't know if it's worth investigating. So I just put the link in there, and then you let me know if I need to go digging around and see what else is potentially there.
Gotcha. So it looks really good.
Yeah, nothing special with it other than just that way you've got the link.
Yeah. Well, and then also, but I mean, it does take, the link does have it's your special URL. So
right.
If I pursue, it'll honor you. I can't think of the words.
I probably ought to actually post the whole affiliate link thing somewhere, just so if people wanted to sign up, they could, but that's too much work.
Yeah. And hosting of our audio is being moved to Spotify?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go that route. And looking at the different options, and I know we briefly talked about it in person, but looking at the different options, it seems like the smartest move just because there's no cost associated. And in theory, longevity will keep it persistent even if I wasn't paying for hosting.
Right.
At least unless Spotify decides to go under or, change their model. But that would impact a large enough base. I think it's safe enough to say that that's probably the best route going forward. So I'll look at actually migrating the current feed to that one and doing a redirect that's permanent so that, fingers crossed, there's no disruption. So I'll let you know when I do it so you can be on the lookout to test it as well.
Sounds good.
And then as I'm going through and finally putting together the front end site for the show as well, I need a photo from you.
Yeah. I will need to make a photo. I might send you several because, my desk setup has changed in that I started in one location. Let's see. I was at my old house. I was in a corner room, and then I moved to a middle room, and then I moved to, I've been all over the place. I'm now in my fourth or fifth different room. But I'm averaging like almost one room per year.
And it doesn't have to be in as a setup either. Like mine at the moment is just one from Railroad Park that I like.
Oh yeah, that. I will give you a plethora of photos. And
we can always stage some photos if we need to as well.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know anyone? It looks like I am. If my room count is 4, I'm changing rooms every 70.75 episodes. But if it's 5, I'm changing every 56.6 episodes, including this episode that we're recording now.
Yeah, I don't even know how many times I've changed because I've moved all over the place.
Yeah. All right, I'll get some photos for you. I had some things to talk about.
I saw.
I quickly added them. So I wanted to. So I've been walking, and I think I told you that I've been listening to the Workout Buddy on. Is that limited to Fitness Plus? I don't remember.
I think so.
Yeah, so I have been using the Workout Buddy, and I like it. It's a little bit like this is not one where you think, oh, this is a real person. Like it's noticeably not a real person, but it's way better than most not real things that I've grown up with, since 1981. But the thing that I would say is it has, so it'll interrupt a podcast, and I don't mind. I like, because I have it set to do that. That's okay. It doesn't really bother me because when the audio before the podcast comes back, it actually backs up maybe a second or two. I like it's noticeable, but not too, definitely not too much. Where I'm like, okay, if I, you know, I know, there's a little, just enough overlap that you know that you haven't missed any of the audio from the podcast. So, but Workout Buddy will. This happened once where it was like, it interrupted and says you've closed your move ring, and then the podcast started back up, and it didn't even play for 5 seconds, and then I heard the Workout Buddy go yes, and then and they go through whatever, but I mean just like a really emphatic yes, and they go through like you have done this many, you're this many move rings closed in a row, you're at your longest streak, and like just like some stats, and I like the stats. And, I especially like the stats, like, because they'll give you some stats at the beginning, like, you've done, at the beginning of February, I had some stats where, like, I'd walked over 60 miles. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm averaging almost 2 miles a day walking. And that's really cool. But I don't know where to find those stats in the application. Like, that's really frustrating. But it was funny, like, just that I guess what I was initially talking about was like you move, they could have put those two things together, but it was like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing with the you close your move ring, and then 5 seconds later, the emphatic yes, and praising me for all the walking that I've done. And then the next day, I knew it was going to happen, and but Workout Buddy didn't go yes as emphatically. They changed it up, and I was like, oh, I was really wanting an emphatic yes. I liked it. So, yeah, but I don't know where to find these stats, like in the way that they described. Maybe like because it's not under trends.
I would assume that it's able to look at the raw health data and just does some on-device calculation. That would
Yeah,
have to be my guess.
yeah. I want more. I'm sure that you've wanted this as well, but I want more. I want more.
Yeah, I think the health app, it needs a complete overhaul anyway. I mean, we've talked about it in different ways, but like I shouldn't resort to third-party applications to try to be able to look at my health data in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? This is where they need to buy somebody.
Yeah.
I keep seeing advertisements for your body battery, and I can't remember what I went to look at the app because the app looked really nice, and it looked nice on the watch as well. And I was like, oh, come on, Apple, buy that.
I've got two different ones that I've tried. Bright OS was one, and I think Sonar was the name of the other one. Both of them try to be, I guess, kind of overall holistically like dashboard style. So it all comes down to the same general trend that you see with like the other wearable bands, like the Whoop band and the Hume band and all the other ones that fit in that category, where they give you or attempt to give you like your stress level overview, recovery, details about how much strain with exercise kind of thing, and try to do it in a way that makes sense. And I appreciate the idea. Realistically, though, I think Whoop has probably the most useful interface and sets of data. And I can't see where Apple wouldn't be able to have this same data available from what the watch is already picking up and be able to provide the same general feature set, or just buy them and be done with it and integrate any missing sensor into like the watch band.
Oh, I see.
Like I don't think there's any sensor differentiation. There might be. Probably lower power. I think the only real benefit that I would have with it over the watch is that I could wear the Whoop band in class because I can put it on a bicep band, and it's not bulky enough to be a problem underneath the either rash guard or gi, depending on whether I'm doing gi or no gi classes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But For that, I can also just use a regular heart rate monitor and do it across the chest, or Polar makes one that you can put across the arm as well. Like I have options.
I didn't know they made one for the arm.
Yep, I picked it up not too long ago because I don't want to pay the subscription for the Whoop thing past the first year.
So the one that I've seen advertised recently was Peak Watch.
I don't recognize that one, but
You,
it's probably just one that hasn't hit my
it's it's
feed.
just the features it has. They're specifically marketing for the watch, but they have a nice dashboard on the phone. See, this is I wish they have something that show your your I don't is your body your bio age. So is your body getting younger or are you aging? They have a food log. They have an AI trainer. They do stress and body energy, and so on and so forth. It's a lot of stuff. They do sleep, and they have a bunch of watch faces. So, and complications for the watch. So I like the idea, but it's like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I'm not sure I'm not sure where my hesitation comes from. But go ahead.
I was just going to say since the only comparison I have is the Whoop one and then the two software ones. The Whoop band tries to do the whole age thing, like your biological age versus your fitness level age, and tries to give you whether you're aging faster from a fitness perspective or than you are actually aging and everything else. And like my big thing with it is just that it doesn't seem to match reality. And I mean that from the standpoint of like when I was wearing it 24/7 just to get a good baseline, days that it said that I had great recovery and great sleep, I felt like shit. And days that it talked about having horrible sleep and bad recovery and high stress, I felt fine. And so it just never matched up with my expectation based on how I felt. Now,
That's interesting.
whether that was just delayed, maybe the way you read it is a 24-hour cycle afterwards, but then it should explain that in the app
or compensate for it. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but it just never seemed to really feel accurate, and so it at that point it seemed misleading enough that it's like, okay, well, I'll use it for tracking activity because the heart rate stuff does seem to be accurate, and the sleep and everything else, I'll just trust the data the Apple Watch gives me.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like a good. Yeah, I think that's why I have been reluctant to venture out, because for similar reasons. It's like I feel like the minimal the data that I have is from Fitness Plus and the Health app, and so it's some of the things I have on there is just it's data that it's like it's not, what's the word I'm looking, it's completely objective. Like I weigh myself, I take my blood pressure, those are objective things, and how I feel really isn't reflected in those numbers, in the sense that I can feel like my blood pressure is going higher, for the most part those are not things that that I can have a subjective perception of. At least not.
Go ahead.
I would say at least not in a way that's meaningful to me.
I do think. Well, I'll back up slightly. There's a learning curve for any device to develop a baseline and be able to understand variances from the baseline, and so I could also make the case that without continuing to provide it constant data, maybe that's why it never seemed to match up. But I wore it, nonstop for 90 days. And if it can't figure out a rough baseline in 90 days, then I don't know that it's worth trying to have it be something that augments my understanding of my body. Because it felt like the Apple Watch calibrated itself over the course of a month for activity levels, and then since then has been pretty consistent. And so the only reason I even went out to look for an option or something else was because wearing a chest strap can be uncomfortable when you have, 250 pounds pressing on your chest as well.
Yeah, an additional 250.
Yeah, and it normally was not something that was problematic because it sits at just the right point that it's not actually often all that bad, but it could be. And there were times that it was certainly uncomfortable enough to make me move. And so I thought, okay, if I can find something slim that I can wear around the bicep, like the specific band you could get for the whoop, then it makes sense to try. And I have been happy with that aspect of it. I'm very unhappy with its determination of effort and therefore calorie burn on some activities versus others. For example, if I wear it while I walk, then the numbers I get from the watch are drastically higher than what I get from the Whoop calculation after it's taken in that data. But it's drastically lower, the Whoop data is drastically lower than what I get if I use a heart rate monitor and do calculation as well. And so the Apple Watch is closer to what I would get from that, which to me means there's some underlying issue with the way the Whoop registers activity and calculates what it is.
Maybe we could buy a bunch of, maybe humanity, Western civilization could put a bunch of money into data centers and get some software to figure this all out.
We should be past that at this point. But the one thing that has been nice about it was at least I have general activity level during class to compare to. And so where I was just guesstimating a rough number before I used the band to actually figure out the range of calories I would burn in a session. So it's nice to have a more accurate representation of that. Sorry, not to derail us from the walking workouts.
No, I derailed us. I was the one that did that. Yes, but I will get us back on track. And that is that
I did the walking workouts. I started, my first one was Jason Segel, and I very much enjoyed it. And my second one I did today was with Brendan Hunt. And my next one will be Hassan Minaj. The only thing I don't like about it is if I want to go longer than this workout, as you maybe would expect, having done any other any Fitness Plus workout, it's over when it's over. So even if I'm not back from my, if I'm still walking, and I haven't made it back home, and my Jason Segel talk ended, the workout also ends and says, "Hey, rate your." I was like, "But I'm not done." So then I made a second workout, my own workout.
So you either have to plan it to be, finish your workout when they're done, or just add another one on. So it wasn't a huge surprise. I was kind of expecting that, but I was hoping I would have been more surprised if it had kept going. So, but I will say that I liked it. I enjoyed that.
I assume you don't really know before you start if there's going to be overlap, do you? Meaning, like, if you could look at the duration and say, yeah, I know I'm going to be walking longer, then that's going to go.
Well, it's funny. Yesterday when I did the first one, I turned around, I was just going to do basically an out and back. I was going to go in one direction, go down the sidewalk in one direction, halfway through, turn around. And the problem I made was that I miscalculated. I turned around right when I was supposed to, but I miscalculated when I was supposed to turn around, and I was still walking. I still had quarter of a mile to walk back. So, and today I did the exact opposite, and I calculated it just right, but then turned around at the wrong time. I turned around too soon. I was like, oh shoot, I had that. I knew when to turn around. I don't know why I turned around now. So maybe tomorrow I'll get it right. So that is to say, if you know that it's gonna, you'd have to know how you'd have to know what pace that you walk, how long it would, and if you want to do walk a certain distance, know that the length of the workout is the right length for how far you want to walk, and then turn around at the right time, calculate it right, and then do it right.
Where I was going with the question was I assume you can add a stack or add it into a stack like you can the other fitness workouts. So could you do
Oh,
uh,
I didn't know you could do that.
well, I would assume so. Maybe not. I haven't looked at the
But
walking ones, but
I didn't. I think I saw a stack somewhere.
so I know I've used stacks a few times when I want to do like a yoga session and then follow it up with something else. That way it will automatically start the next one. Or I might still have to tell it to start, but it brings it up. Like it ends the first one, brings it up, and I can just tap the button to start the next one. So it's a little more frictionless.
Yeah. So here's what I would like. Here's how I'd like that feature to work. So I didn't know about these. I didn't know about this stack business you speak of. But it looks like, yeah, I'm seeing. So you could just add. You could take 2 workouts and stick them together. Is that right?
Or you can take multiple. I don't know that a stack has a limit or a
Right.
practical limit, but yeah.
Sorry, you could take multiple workouts, which could be 2 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the most I've stacked is 4 so far, but
Okay. Do you have to tell it to keep going?
that's what it seems like. If I remember correctly, it pauses. So the first workout ends, you get the summary screen, and then it starts or it brings up the play button to start the next one. I don't think it automatically starts it. I think it does require you to tap it. But I can't remember if that was the case or if it did just the countdown and an auto start.
See, this is where the workout buddy would be really helpful for it to be like, all right, you ready? We're going to start your second one. And, if you could do a voice confirmation, because I'm listening in my AirPods, because the workout buddy does it. Like if you don't have AirPods in, you don't get the workout buddy.
And it might, because when I've played with the stacks, I have not been using AirPods at the same time because they've been other workouts downstairs.
Right, on the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would expect it to do it there too. Anywhere where you can interact with the audio. Like, do you have Workout Buddy turned on?
I think so.
Anyway, there's room for improvement. And I am not the kind of person that is like, most of the time I'm like, ooh, cool, you added a feature, and I'm not like, asking for, maybe I'm deluding myself, and if you've been listening to 283 episodes of this podcast, you might be able to tell me differently. But I feel like I'm I don't know. I'm easygoing about this, but maybe I'm not.
I don't see a feature called Workout Buddy to turn on or off. But I was looking at the watch settings.
Oh, I don't think it's on the. I have no idea where it is, and I don't know if it's I think it's Apple Fitness Plus. All right, so there is a setting to turn it on. You have to have Apple Intelligence on your paired iPhone. Yes, and basically the description of what it is you can use Workout Buddy to get encouragement during your workouts based on real-time analysis of your fitness history and data from your current workout. Workout Buddy also lets you know when you've hit a new milestone, like running your fastest 10K, crossing 500 miles, and more. Aren't we
ambitious?
Ambitious. Thank you. I almost had it. You can go to the workout app on your Apple Watch, turn the digital crown, and there's a bell that you can tap and turns the Workout Buddy on, and you can change the voice. Way down in there, man. It's like way hidden.
Yeah, I couldn't find any reference on the phone. So
yeah, so you have to go to
Workout Buddy is off for me.
On the bottom, and it's okay. I don't remember turning it on.
I vaguely remember turning off a similar sounding feature. So, if so, it would have been done whenever it was first introduced. But I don't remember having to get to it that way to do it. So maybe that's a difference in placement from. Well, was it in the previous OS version?
No,
then?
I don't think so. I think it was with 26.
So maybe not.
And I do know that I do know when you have a workout going, in the top right, there's a little icon, and it shows that it's working to provide you like the next update or whatever when it's doing that.
I don't know. Maybe I saw it during a workout and turned it off.
Yeah, that's where I was getting at it. I didn't quite get there. That's where I was going, but I didn't quite get there. So
I don't necessarily remember turning it off either, though. But it sounds like something I would have turned off.
yeah, I would have been surprised if you had it on. Just
Because like the only thing I want it to interrupt me for is to tell me when a ring is closed or what my split pace is. That's it. I don't need any of the other stuff.
come on, man. You don't want more fluff in your life?
Not from my digital assistant that doesn't help me with other stuff very well.
Like that's kind of nice.
That's the kind of the big thing. I think if it were more useful overall, I would be less annoyed when it intrudes on my workout with like uplifting encouragement, because it's not really uplifting.
So first of all, there needs to be settings on what kind of encouragement you get, because there's some people right now I think all you can get is the super positive encouragement. And you know what? Sometimes it's nice to get super positive encouragement. And then there's some, there are going to be some people that are going to like, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah, I know. And
like if it were just encouragement, it doesn't have to be overly positive. Just
neutral.
Yeah.
Like if it was neutral, like, and I would say it's closer to neutral than it is to, super, very fluffy.
See, I expect I read it with a sarcastic voice at some point then and turned it off.
Yeah. Well, I think what's missing though is something that just like is like negging you. Like some people need the negging encouragement. Some people do well when somebody's like, something along the lines of, you're gonna wear that kind of encouragement.
I will say, if it were something like, come on, you had a 3-second faster split pace yesterday kind of thing, then yeah, I'd probably leave that on. Yeah.
I do like that it has told me it's like, here's your average. And it's like, I think there needs to be at first I was going to say like a dial that you could move left and right, but no, it needs to be one of those quadrants where you can pick somewhere in there, and like there should be there should be like one corner should be like a drill sergeant. One corner should be like a sarcastic, in my head, I'm like, it would be funny to have like a sarcastic gay man, and it would also be funny to have like a, sarcastic teenage girl. Either one, but somewhere, you can choose. You get a little, maybe your workout buddy is, has multiple personalities. I don't know. I would be down for that. Like, I don't know what they're gonna say, and I would encourage that. But I think one day it would be nice where it's like you can get to the point where you can have a conversation with it, and maybe that'll come with in a future update where Apple's AI is powered by something that is more reliable. But yeah, I like the idea. There just needs to be more of it. And the thing with Apple is that, well, this is not nothing. They got a lot going on, and they're doing a lot of stuff with computers over there in Cupertino. And sometimes I feel like, they need a reset and start really each division function, not functioning like individual companies, that this is the thing, but like producing as if they were like, this is all that we do, and this is what's got to come out. I'm not sure if I said that well enough.
I mean, I follow the sentiment. I think I don't necessarily disagree. I just think it's difficult to do that with the products they make because of how embedded parts of the hardware and software are together. Because if you really tried to do it that way, you'd almost have to do like an Apple Silicon division, but then how would that be able to function appropriately with some of the other things hardware wise? You know what I mean? Like how do you draw some of those lines when you're sharing aspects of it across all of the product lineup? I guess is what makes it murky.
Yeah.
Yeah, because prior you could say like with the Intel division or using Intel chips, the Mac itself was definitely capable of being its own division in a way from a product management standpoint. But now, I don't know. Do you have a general compute division that's just required? That its requirement is the different form factors, but you have a different like embedded systems division for Apple Silicon itself. When it
Yeah,
seems
I
it
get what you're
becomes
saying.
convoluted.
Yeah, well, they make a lot of money, so they should be able to figure it out.
I agree, and it's not on me to try to figure it out. So
Right. If I was making that much money, I'd be trying to figure this out.
I would say that with that, there absolutely also needs to be a pro apps division that brings back Aperture and makes it hands and shoulders above the rest of the competition, and quit doing all this other BS. But that's just me.
There's a possibility that we'll see something like that.
Oh,
It's
and they should really just go ahead and buy DaVinci or Blackmagic and integrate a lot of DaVinci's tools into the Final Cut Pro system. Just because I would like to have Final Cut Pro's native instruction set run cleanly, as opposed to DaVinci Resolve being close or cross-platform, and so there's some difference in how well it runs at times, but it's still solid and my preferred system at this point. So,
yeah. I remember I liked when I 20 years ago. So it's been 20 years since I bought a PowerBook. I bought a PowerBook in January of 2006. I bought it in January of 2006, and I remember thinking, oh, cool, now I'm part of the Apple people, and it was like, oh, it's cool, they this show that I'm watching might have been, edited on Final Cut Pro. I don't remember thinking how cool that was, and I think the other day I'd sent you a message, even though I think his politics are bullshit. Aaron Sorkin wrote Sports Night on a PowerBook G3, and then he wrote The West Wing on a PowerBook. I think it was a Titanium. Yeah, because he was doing a video for some computer, but I think it might have been the first aluminum. Yeah, it was the 17-inch PowerBook. That's what it was. So that's when they switched to aluminum enclosures. And he was talking about, the only PowerBook G4 at the time would have been the titanium PowerBook, and so he wrote, the first few. He was writing the first few seasons of The West Wing on a titanium PowerBook. So, yeah. So, those kind of things that I like those things. I thought that was cool, and now it's I didn't I'm not. I know everybody likes an underdog story, but I'm one of those people who's like, okay, underdog, great, that's a cool story, but winners are going to win, and an underdog story is really good, but it was never, Apple being the underdog was never something that compelled me. It was like the quality of what they did is what was most compelling about them.
Yeah, I think most people who gravitated toward the Mac prior to, I'd be gracious and say as late as 2010, maybe even 2012.
I would even, I'd go further. I think
but generally speaking, everybody before then typically found something more related to how well Apple implemented a thing that they gravitated toward, as opposed to like the underdog aspect.
I would say I'm wondering, and I'll put this out there, but I'm wondering if it's the long time Apple users, the people who came in from the 80s, who were there the first time Steve Jobs was there, And it's like, are those the folks that really like the underdog story?
I think you could certainly make a case for anybody who really had Apple catch their attention with 1984 or in 1984.
With the Macintosh.
Yeah, like with the initial wave of explaining why they were doing it. I think that's where you had people who gravitated toward, or maybe you would have a higher likelihood of people who gravitated toward the platform for the underdog aspect. Because those are more than likely people who still had to, in their day-to-day, work with other systems, but personally chose that system for what it represented. And of course, that's just me projecting.
No. I think that it makes some sense. And I think also if you were an Apple user through the 90s, I think that also...
Well, I think even if you came later and you were gravitated toward the system because of how well Apple implemented something, you could still embrace the underdog story and still feel like it was an additional reason. My big thing is just that at that point, I don't think the underdog aspect was the driving force for attraction to the platform.
If you were using an Apple computer before the iPhone 3GS, so that puts us at 2009. Because that's where it's like you can't say, oh yeah, 2009 and on, or that's when it started to change. It wasn't, there's an intermediate period. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think you really saw the ramifications of the iPhone's effect on bringing people into the ecosystem until the App Store hit its third, maybe fourth year. Because even in the first couple of years, the people who generally jumped on mobile apps were the types of people who had already made the switch to the Mac anyway. And so it would have taken a little more maturity for people to see some benefits to having and running apps on the phone and having the communication back to the device. I don't even know if 3 or 4 years would have done it, because you would have had, you didn't have robust syncing capabilities until later.
Yeah, but people weren't syncing. Like those folks weren't coming from a world where syncing was particularly...
Yeah, the early adopters weren't. What I'm getting at is I don't think you had the ease of impact on life to attract you to Apple as a platform from a mobile device perspective until you had more of that syncability between devices. So prior to that, it would have been people who already were attracted to Apple for the compute platform, not the other way around. And I think once the cross-device synchronization of stuff became more mainstream and robust, that's when you started having people who maybe their first introduction to Apple was on the mobile side and then started to gravitate toward Apple as a computer platform as well. Did that make sense?
I'm thinking about that. I think that if you had Mobile Me, then you're there for the underdog story.
Well, on the topic, you mentioned in the notes that you downloaded Yojimbo.
I did. Speaking of some old Macs. Well, I mean it's still current. Like it's made for Tahoe. But yeah, I was. I mean, I've been a long time BB Edit user. I love BB Edit. It's one of my favorites. And I downloaded it because I don't know why I downloaded it. I don't know. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, has Yojimbo always been a bare bones product?
I think so.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it has been.
I know at one point I looked at it. I don't remember how long ago it had been, but I just did not remember the affiliation with bare bones. And it may just be that the website didn't have that prevalent at the time. Who knows? Or maybe I saw it on somebody else's website.
Yeah.
Like one of the specials where you buy like Mac Update or Mac Bundle
Oh
or
yeah,
something. Like
yeah,
maybe I
yeah.
saw it that way instead, is what I was getting at.
Yeah, no, I remember those specials because I did a few of those early on. It's like I I'm trying to I think maybe I heard I heard John Gruber talking about it recently, but for whatever reason, I wanted to go to Barebone's website, and then I noticed Yojimbo, and then I was like, oh, well, one, I it looks like a late 2000s, Mac app. It looks like there's something about it that is just so reminiscent of from the icon to the library on the side and the icons that they use and the center, the main stage in the center. It looks like a snow leopard app. Really, it's from that era. The look that it still has is from that era. So it was it was some nostalgia there because that was around the time that I was really starting. That's when I started using Mac OS on a regular basis, and 2006 is when I got my PowerBook. And but when I saw what the application does, because the name is not at all lend to what it does, I was like, oh, I actually have a use for this because right now I have a note. So, well, first of all, I would come across through some social media platform. I'd come across a powerful website that I should know about, and I was like, yes, I should know about this website. I will one day might need to employ the features of this website. And so what I was doing was I was going to that website and leaving a tab open on my phone, and I'm like, this is stupid, because I had too many tabs open. And I was like, it's like, yeah, that's a fine way to keep it if I'm gonna go back to it later today and bookmark it. I was like, and I started bookmarking. I was like, I don't like the way this bookmarking is working. Like, I don't like it's like the way I use bookmarks in Safari. It's like I don't want bookmarks to be something that I might want to go back and look at. I want bookmarks to be like, this is something I go to often. Like, this is like I open Safari and this week I'm going to go to this bookmark. That's how I like to use bookmarks. So I had a notes app, or I had a note in the notes app, and I was just like, I'm just going to put these URLs here and figure it out later. And then I came across Yojimbo and I was like, oh, this is what I need this for. And then it's got, it comes with other things, but I was just like, ooh, let me try this out and see how I like it. And I've been liking it.
Yeah, I very vaguely remember using it some time ago. I didn't use it for much. I think I was just trying it out. It was probably a couple of weeks ago now that I went back. There's an app called Notebooks that's kind of similar that I started using again. That is, I don't remember who makes it off the top of my head. Let me pull it up real quick and see. I'll send you the link just so that you have it. I don't remember where I came across it. I do remember the thing that I liked about it. The reason I decided to look it up is because it creates a folder structure that matches the structure in the app so that everything is stored in a non-proprietary format on the in iCloud, because it uses iCloud to sync. Well, I guess technically you could probably use other stuff as well, but I use it with iCloud syncing. And so, like if I go and look at my notebooks folder in iCloud, the folder list matches the quote unquote books that I've created in notebooks. And each of the individual items is a different type depending on the data that's in it. Most of them are stored as HTML files. I've got a couple that got stored as plists. Well, it looks like the plists are stored with the HTML for some specific way of showing something with that particular file, maybe. I don't know. But either way, what attracted me to it and part of why I started using it was because I knew that it was something that worst case scenario, I could go pull the raw data out of and use it somewhere else if the app was no longer working or the company went out of existence or whatever. And I
Or
don't,
Tahoe broke it.
yeah, any number of things that could be a thing. And I've enjoyed using it, but it's very specifically quick reference notes that I want to make and have grouped in a way that I don't want to clutter up the Notes app with. But then again, I don't use the Notes app really as my primary note-taking app because Apple took forever to introduce feature sets that I would use in the Notes app. Like I found workarounds for everything I wanted to synchronize ages ago.
Right.
I probably should actually go back and clean up the Notes app and look at using it in some ways, but
the reason I didn't necessarily want to stay with the Notes app is because I don't want if the Notes app becomes a catch-all for everything like this, then it's it'll become too cumbersome for certain things. So
yeah, a lot of what I use notebooks for ends up being stuff that is.
It looks cool.
Well, to give an example, so I've got a handful of things Linux reference-wise in there, and it's just stuff that I tend to not use often enough to keep it committed to memory, where I would go search for like a quick example. Like I just need a command example. I don't even need any of the extra info. But
Right.
then if I am doing something and encounter on Mac, do this because of whatever reason, or on this particular platform or whatever. And so one of the examples I have is like I've got an entry for DD, and specifically note that in Mac OS it often will give you errors because it is still mounted, and go look and see if it's actually mounted or not via the command line and not just rely on the GUI kind of thing.
Right.
Little things like that. That's just okay. It's good for me to keep a reminder of that, because otherwise I'll scratch my head on some BS behavior, and
no,
that was why.
I absolutely have a note in the Notes app for this, and this would be it's not a great place. It's not a great place to keep that information. I have it because it's easily accessible, but this is it Notebook? Yeah, Notebooks app. I was like, ooh, this could be a good place for that. I was actually looking at having a wiki for certain things like this, just on my Mac Mini, because I was like, I need a place for certain information that I don't want to have in Notes, or but I there's just it's like I could make a spreadsheet, but that's not what spreadsheets are for. That's that also that's not what I want. So, but this looks kind of like, I don't see a lot of images here, and that's why I was thinking of doing a wiki, because there's a certain number of images that I wanted to have and look a certain way. So
yeah, I have notes with images,
check
but I don't
out.
use a lot of images.
Well, I don't necessarily need a lot of images. I just want to have some images, and sort of like maybe something akin to a product page, like a really simple product page, like where you have one image and then some descriptions. So
I think I don't remember for sure, but I think part of what made me decide to go this route also was like I've got a note for some different aspects of like business rate calculations and all, and you can just copy straight from numbers and it formats it appropriately when you paste in.
Oh, that's nice.
Like you would expect the native Notes app to do. And so some of that cross compatibility, like it was obviously developed Mac centric. It's not like it's an app that got ported over or anything else. And so I guess the ease of being able to format it in a way that I need it formatted regardless of where I'm pulling the data from was nice. I'm probably going to look at Yojimbo for similar kind of use case, because I do the same thing with tabs all the time.
Yeah.
And then I'll think instead to go drop it in a note or something else. Or I've even used things and put it in the inbox, and none of them have really been a workflow that I wanted to adopt. All of it felt like it was just making do with the easily accessible tools. So
I thought Yojimbo supported iCloud. Maybe it does, but I'm not seeing something that makes it obvious that they support iCloud.
like I'm still looking
But
for.
they do sync with. Sorry, I was gonna say they do sync with the iPad, but I'm not sure.
I'm still looking for a general like reference app that works the way I want it to. And I've tried to make multiple things work the way I want it to, and I keep running into little snags. For example, Notebooks is great for text for sure, and I've used it for some images, but I don't know that I would build out a list of bookmarks or anything in there, or you know what I mean? Like it's still segmenting, like, instead of having one big reference thing with multiple categories where I could easily sort things and find things by tags in some cases and by structure and nesting and all in other cases. And like there's not anything that gives me all of those different scenarios that play nice with each other the way I want.
Yeah, check out Yojimbo because they do have good tagging, or at least the tagging feature that they showed in their their tour video. It looked like, ooh, this is going to be helpful. So it does support syncing multiple Macs via iCloud as well as dark mode support. So it does support iCloud syncing.
Do they have a phone app as well, or is it just iPad?
It looks like just iPad. I have not seen a phone app.
I don't think that would really matter to me, but it is nice sometimes to be able to put something in a reference on the go.
Yeah.
And that, yet another one of those little things where it's like, well, if this was available, like even if it was just a email this to, this address, like things will do. So you can create a note with what you email in the inbox, and then you can deal with it later.
I think there's something like that.
Yeah. So there are all sorts of things that will make it work if it's an option. But yeah, I'll look either way. I'll certainly, I downloaded it already.
Nice. It's a good little app.
We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap. Did you watch the Super Bowl at all?
I did. I turned it on at second quarter.
I turned it on when Green Day was performing during the opening, just to make sure that they hit a subscriber, the streaming numbers. But I didn't watch anything until, I guess, halftime.
So, yeah, I like that thing that you sent to me. It looks like the Seahawks won the Bad Bunny concert.
Yeah.
I actually went for a long hike Sunday because the weather was just so nice, and I got back, got something to eat, took a shower, and then watched the rest of the Super Bowl. So it wasn't. I remember it was better than the last Super Bowl I watched, which was a few years ago, and I remember thinking it was like, it was one of those ones where both teams were so good that it was a boring game because nothing was happening. Their defenses were just so evenly matched that nothing was going on, where I think this one was slightly better.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to much of it at all. And I don't normally, but
it's not the beautiful game, so yeah. I get that. I made a point to somebody the other day regarding one, I was really happy to see that on Monday, somebody that I know that's pretty conservative, they said something. Yeah, some people are happy about the halftime show, and some people are unhappy about the halftime show. But guess what? There's still a pedophile in the Oval Office. I was like, yes. Let's not forget what the problem is. I appreciate that. So, no, I was saying something to my kids tonight about it because it came up in conversation over dinner, and I said, here's what I do know. Bad Bunny is an American citizen, and my kids are like, what? I was like, yeah. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States, so everyone that's been born in Puerto Rico is an American citizen. And they're like, oh, okay. I said, here's what I know, and that is that when The Who and Paul McCartney and Celine Dion performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, nobody got upset that they were not U.S. citizens. And the other thing that I know is that Spanish is a European language and English is also a European language. And those are the facts.
I wish I had saved it now or sent it. I'm sure you've seen it by now as well, though. The statement about halftime show being in Spanish, can't understand, but obviously it doesn't matter because the Constitution's in English and you guys obviously don't understand it either.
I have not seen that, but yeah, it tracks. It tracks.
Next time because I'm sure it'll show up in my feed again a few times because I saw it 2 or 3 times today. Next time I'll send it.
Yeah, it's really not about him being, it's not about them understanding it. I saw one, and I can't remember who the artist was. Oh, it was Fleetwood Mac. Also, not all of them are American. But they were like, yeah, the lyrics, it didn't matter that you understood the lyrics or not, because this person was like, I'm 40 years old, and I didn't know that this lyric was this thing. I thought it was this thing, and I was like, oh, that's way off.
I remember seeing something like that today, too. Yeah. Well, it's like I couldn't understand a word, but I got the meaning.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. It was
Did you know that there were people in that grass? Like all of the grass that was out there. So one, I saw a thing where it said that was the Field of Dreams. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But all of the grass that you saw out there, they were people in costumes.
I heard someone talking about that. And I think there were 2, how would you phrase it? There was a picture that showed something that looked like it was actually people in costume, which
yes,
that's
what it was.
About. But there was another picture where someone is like they were referencing the sugarcane as being the grass that had people in it, and that was not the case. Like the sugarcane was a set.
Okay.
Or at least it seemed to be from all the pictures I saw.
I'm not sure if I noticed the difference. I do know that there were people in grass, and I didn't know that they were people in costumes to look like grass.
Yeah. I thought the set was really intricate. I don't know that I've seen a set design just that detailed in a long time.
I don't remember seeing a halftime show shot the way that it was, like the cinematography, where, there were multiple camera people, and they knew exactly where they were going to cut. They knew exactly. I mean, it was very well choreographed.
Yeah, it was an extremely well done show.
Like where it's like, one camera is following Bad Bunny, and then it very smoothly transitions to, its movement wasn't even a transition, but its movement followed another person. Like when they were on stage doing the wedding, like he moved to somewhere else, and the camera was on a smooth movement to something, and the focus, he was no longer in the path of where the camera was, and I think it was like the couple, and there's a number of transitions like that, and then there were he fell through the building, fell through the floor into the building, and there was already a camera person there recording, and that was where it was supposed to go. So there were a lot of transition, and I don't remember anything being like that in a Super Bowl, in a halftime show.
Yeah, not that I remember, and it was really, really well done. And I saw that was a real wedding.
So those people did get married?
Yes.
I was kind of wondering, like I was like, I think they just got married. I didn't know though.
What I don't know is if that was so the backstory is that they had invited Bad Bunny to the wedding and then found themselves invited to the show. So I don't know if they were technically married and then they brought it into the show, or if the show was the wedding. So I don't know the full story, but either way, it was really a bride and groom, whether they got married at that moment or had been done, a week or whatever.
Right. Was it Pedro Pascal that married them?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
I remember seeing him. I remember thinking that I can't remember now, but I remember at some point I was like, that looks like Pedro Pascal. Anyway, yeah, I like one, whether or not I can understand the music doesn't really matter to me, because the music is the music, and quite honestly, most of the time I'm not paying attention to lyrics anyway, and that's just who I am. But his music is not generally the genre of music that I listen to, but I very much enjoyed the show. It was definitely a good show.
Yeah, it's not at all the type of music that I would normally listen to, but it was still, I found it quite enjoyable. And then again, I also appreciate music for what all it conveys, regardless of where it comes from. So
yeah, I think at this point I found there's at least one song for every genre of music that I've ever heard that I like. Like, and that wasn't the case, when I was younger, but I'm in an age where it's like I'm pretty sure there's a song for any genre of music and subgenre of music that I like, and this may come to a surprise, but like Lady Gaga is one of my favorite artists. It's at least surprising to me. She's such a talented artist.
I've been surprised by some things of hers that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I saw the United States, Israel, and J.D. Vance all got booed last Friday in Milan.
I mean, I knew Vance got booed. I didn't know that was the only thing that I heard. But
the 4 Israelis that are participating in the Winter Olympics also got booed. And to be fair, it's not that they're booing the Israeli athletes; they're booing the country.
Yeah, I mean, I expected.
To be fair, if I was a U.S. athlete, I think I would boo the country. I'd join in on the boos as well, because Jesus Christ. I went to a Jude had so the 8th grade. So Jude's in 7th grade, but the 8th grade band kids that are there, the 8th graders that are in the band got inducted into whatever band honor society that you get inducted to in 8th grade, and Jude is in the brass ensemble, and so he played. So he had to go, and he said, "Dad, will you come and stay?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll stay." He's like, "We recorded this for Mom." I was like, "Sure, I'll record this for Mom." And so I did. And they had the Pledge of Allegiance, and they're like, "Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the national anthem." And I had been doing something on my phone, so I heard Pledge of Allegiance. I was like, "I'm not standing for this." And so I put my phone away before the pledge started, and I sat there respectfully. I didn't want to, I remember a few years ago, I would do the Colin Kaepernick kneel. I did that at some Barons baseball games when they did the pledge, and it's like, I'm not going to do that, but I will sit there respectfully. But I'm not. I just can't stand. It's been a while that I've been able. Like, it's been a long time since I've stood for the Pledge of Allegiance, and as soon as the pledge was over, I stood up, and I didn't realize I was standing up for the national anthem, and they started playing the national anthem, and I sat right back down. I can't do it, man. It's like, I don't think people, I know there are people out there that won't understand this, but I can't do it because I think that what I was told this country was supposed to represent is too good for what is actually happening. I didn't know, for a long time, for a long, long time, didn't know that's what was happening. But the last 10 years have shown it's like, oh, all that stuff that we had behind the curtain, has been pulled away. And it's like, this is how it's been the whole time that you were alive. And I don't think that was what was. It doesn't matter what was intended. It's not what we were taught, and it's not what I accept. And so, until it changes, I won't. I don't want to be so. I don't want to. I feel like it's. I don't know. Maybe trite to say I love this country too much to stand. To stand at and pledge allegiance based on what's happening. It's like it's not that I love this country too much. It's just I'm here because I was born here. I'm a citizen here because apparently citizenship is something that's still important to people, and I just happen to be I happen to be born here, and but what I do know is that there are a certain set of ideals that can be derived from the documents that were written at the founding of this country, and I agree with those ideals, and I agree with that interpretation, and we just haven't been living that way, and I think that it is disrespectful to pretend that we should pledge allegiance to a country that says we should behave in a certain way and do the exact opposite. So I guess I did have more.
I don't know the last time that I participated in the pledge or the national anthem.
Like with the kids?
Yeah.
At an assembly of it,
I
take anything for Jacobs?
I can't recall the last. I'm sure I've been there and it's been done, but my go-to for a while now is I'll stand, but I won't be involved. Like I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to make a scene either. If you want to, it's basically the same thing you're saying, except I just stand. And the only reason I stand is just because they're asking me to stand while people observe. I think I haven't bothered. I haven't been in a situation where I felt like me standing or me not standing made a difference. I'll put it that way. Because if I felt like it made a difference to make a statement, then I would have no problems dropping to a knee and making a statement. But in any situation I can think of, I can't think of one that I have been in where I have felt like an action other than just standing would even make a difference.
Where do you put your arms when you're standing? Because I know I've stood
just
before.
by my side.
Okay, I know. Yeah, I know that. I know there have been times where I've stood.
If they're not straight down by my side, I just clasp them behind my back. I figure that makes enough of a statement.
Yep, I think that's a good statement to clasp behind the back. Like I can't remember the last time I put my hand on my heart. And the rest of the world looks at that and they're like, man, that's weird stuff.
Yeah, I don't know of any country that any other country other than maybe North Korea that would have.
Oh man, what a comparison!